There are things you carry that no one else sees, weights that do not show on your face or in your words, burdens you have learned to hold quietly because explaining them feels too heavy, too complicated, or too tiring. God begins here, not by asking you to put anything down yet, but by seeing it fully. I see what you are carrying. I see the responsibilities you shoulder without recognition, the emotional weight you manage so others can feel safe, the worries you keep to yourself because you do not want to be a burden. You may have grown used to minimizing what you hold, telling yourself that others have it worse, that you should be stronger, that this is just how life is. Yet none of that makes the weight lighter. God does not measure your burden against anyone else's. What you carry matters because it is yours. You may feel tired in ways that sleep does not fix, tired from holding things together, from staying composed, from continuing when parts of you feel worn thin. God sees this tiredness not as weakness, but as evidence of how much you have been holding. There are emotions you have not fully named, griefs you have not had space to feel, fears you keep contained so they do not spill into everything else. Carrying them quietly has become a form of survival, and God honors the strength it took to do that. Still, strength was never meant to be permanent isolation. I see the moments when you feel overwhelmed but keep going anyway, the moments when you feel unseen even while being depended on, the moments when you wish someone would notice without you having to explain. God's seeing is not distant or abstract. It is attentive, intimate, and compassionate. Nothing you carry is invisible here. You may not even fully understand the weight yourself, only sensing it as heaviness, pressure, or restlessness. God sees beneath that too, seeing how long you have been holding, how rarely you have been allowed to rest without guilt. This is not a moment of correction or instruction. You are not being told to let go yet, to change yet, or to do something differently. You are simply being met where you are. Being seen is the beginning of relief, even before anything changes. God does not rush you into solutions. Love begins by acknowledging reality. I see what you are carrying, even the parts you have not spoken aloud, even the parts you do not know how to explain. You do not have to prove the weight for it to be real. You do not have to justify your tiredness for it to be understood. This seeing does not come with judgment or expectation. It comes with presence. And for now, that is enough. You are not alone with what you carry, even if you have felt that way for a long time. There is a kind of strength you learn slowly, not because you wanted to, but because life required it of you. It is not the loud strength that announces itself, not the kind that feels powerful or triumphant. It is the quiet strength of adaptation, of learning how to keep going while carrying more than you ever expected to hold. God sees how this strength formed around you over time, layer by layer, as a response to circumstances that did not pause to ask whether you were ready. You learned how to stay composed, how to be dependable, how to absorb pressure without letting it show. At first, this strength may have felt temporary, something you put on to get through a difficult season, but over time it became familiar, almost like clothing you no longer remembered choosing. You wore it because it worked, because it kept things functioning, because it allowed you to survive without falling apart. God understands that this strength was never about pride or control. It was about safety. It was about doing what you had to do when support felt uncertain or unavailable. You may not even recognize how strong you have been, because this strength did not feel heroic. It felt necessary. It showed up in the way you kept going when you were tired, in the way you carried responsibility without complaint, in the way you learned to manage your emotions so they would not overwhelm you or anyone else. Over time, this strength became part of your identity. You may have started to believe that being strong meant not needing help, not showing weakness, not admitting when something felt too heavy. God does not blame you for this belief. Love knows how easily strength can turn into armor when vulnerability feels unsafe. You learned to wear strength because it protected you. It allowed you to function, to remain steady, to be reliable in a world that often felt unpredictable. Yet wearing strength constantly can be exhausting. You may feel tired in ways that are hard to explain. Tired not just from doing too much, but from always holding yourself together. God sees this fatigue too. There is no disappointment here, only understanding. You were never meant to carry everything alone, but you carried what you had to in order to survive. That does not make you weak, it makes you human. God does not ask you to take off the strength all at once, to suddenly become vulnerable or to lay everything down before you are ready. Love moves gently, honoring the ways you learn to cope, even as it invites you towards something softer. You may notice moments when the strength feels heavy now, when it no longer serves you the way it once did, and this is not failure. It is a sign that you are growing into a season where constant self-protection is no longer necessary. God remains patient with this transition. You do not have to prove your strength here. You do not have to keep wearing it to be valued. Being seen does not require you to be composed. You are allowed to be tired of being strong. God sees the strength you learn to wear, and also sees the part of you that longs to rest beneath it. Nothing about that longing is wrong. It is simply the next gentle movement toward being held rather than holding everything yourself. There was a moment, though you may not remember exactly when it happened, when carrying more than your share stopped feeling temporary and started feeling normal. What once felt heavy became familiar. What once required effort slowly blended into the background of your days. You learned how to move through life with weight on your shoulders without stopping to ask whether it was meant to be there. God sees this transition clearly. The quiet shift from "this is hard right now" to "this is just how life is." You may not have chosen it consciously. Carrying became normal because putting things down did not feel like an option. Responsibilities kept coming, expectations remained, needs did not pause, and you adapted because adaptation was necessary. Over time, you stopped noticing how much you were holding because noticing would have required space you did not have. God understands how this happens, how survival slowly reshapes perception until strain feels ordinary and exhaustion feels inevitable. You may have told yourself that everyone carries things, that this is simply adulthood or responsibility or faith, and while there is truth in that, God also sees where the line blurred between healthy responsibility and quiet overload. When carrying became normal, you learned to minimize your own needs. You learned to push discomfort aside, to postpone rest, to tell yourself you could handle just a little more. This was not because you lacked awareness, but because awareness without relief can feel unbearable. God sees how you learned to cope by not fully feeling the weight you carried, by keeping yourself moving so you would not have to stop and assess. You may have become skilled at functioning under pressure, at staying composed even when things felt heavy inside, and others may have come to rely on this steadiness. Being reliable can feel meaningful, but it can also quietly trap you into always being the one who holds. God does not judge this pattern. Love understands that being needed can feel safer than being vulnerable. When carrying became normal, it shaped how you relate to yourself. You may struggle now to recognize when something is too much because your threshold has been stretched over time. What once would have signaled overload now barely registers. God sees how this has affected your body, your emotions, your spirit. You may feel tired without knowing why, restless without knowing what you need, disconnected from yourself in subtle ways. These are not failures of faith or strength. They are signals from a system that has been holding for a long time without rest. God sees the cost of normalizing weight. Yet even here, there is no condemnation, only understanding. You did what you needed to do to survive, to stay present, to keep going. Normalizing the weight was not a moral choice, it was a practical one. God does not ask you to regret this adaptation, only to notice it gently. Awareness is not meant to shame you. It is meant to soften the grip of what has been unconsciously held. You may begin to sense that some of what you are carrying no longer belongs to you alone, that some of it can be shared, released, or re-examined. God does not rush this realization. When carrying has been normal for a long time, learning how to put things down can feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. God remains patient, honoring the way you learn to survive, even as love begins to offer another way. You do not need to immediately change how you live or carry. Simply noticing is enough for now. Noticing that the weight has been real. Noticing that you have been strong for a long time. Noticing that you may be tired beneath the strength. God sees all of this and stays close. Carrying may have become normal, but it does not have to remain permanent. This recognition is not a demand for action. It is an opening. And God will move with you through that opening at a pace that feels safe, gentle, and kind. There is a truth that can feel both relieving and unsettling when you first allow it in, a truth that gently challenges the way you have learned to survive. You were never meant to hold all of this alone. You may have lived for a long time as if carrying everything by yourself was simply part of being responsible, faithful, or strong. It may not have felt like a choice so much as a requirement, something you stepped into because there was no clear alternative. God meets you here with tenderness, not to point out what you did wrong, but to remind you of what was always intended. You were never designed to be the sole container for every worry, every responsibility, every emotional weight, every unspoken fear. Carrying alone may have become normal, but it was never meant to be permanent. God sees how you learned to do this out of necessity, how you became the one who managed, who absorbed, who held things together when letting go felt unsafe or impossible. There is no judgment in this seeing, only compassion for how much you have been holding for so long. You may feel resistance when you hear that you were not meant to hold this alone, because letting others in, or letting God in more deeply, can feel vulnerable, unfamiliar, even risky. If you have learned that depending on yourself was the safest option, the idea of shared weight may stir fear rather than relief. God understands this fear. Love does not rush you into surrender or demand immediate trust. Instead, it gently invites you to notice how heavy things have become, how long you have been carrying without rest, how much strength it has required to keep going this way. You may have believed that holding everything alone was a sign of maturity or faithfulness, that asking for help would somehow diminish you. God offers a different understanding. Interdependence is not weakness, it is part of how you were created. You were made for connection, for shared load, for support that flows both ways. Holding everything alone was never the goal, even if it became the strategy. There may be parts of your life where you feel especially alone in carrying, places where you do not feel seen or supported, even by those closest to you. God sees these lonely places clearly. You may have stopped expecting help because it disappointed you in the past, or because explaining your inner world felt too complex. God does not minimize these experiences. Love knows that being let down can teach you to rely only on yourself. Yet God gently reminds you that divine presence has never withdrawn, even when human support felt absent. You were never alone in the way you thought, even if you felt alone in your responsibility. God has been near in every season, quietly sharing the weight in ways you may not have recognized at the time. The strength that carried you through was not yours alone. It was sustained by a presence that did not leave when things became heavy. You may notice a mix of emotions arising as you sit with this truth: relief at the idea of not having to carry everything alone, and grief for the times you did. This grief is welcome. It honors how much you have endured without adequate support. God does not ask you to bypass this sadness or turn it into gratitude. You are allowed to mourn the weight you carried by yourself, even as you begin to sense that something else is possible now. Being meant for shared weight does not erase the reality that you had to carry alone for a time. It simply opens the door to a gentler way forward. God does not ask you to immediately put everything down or to suddenly trust without hesitation. Love moves at the pace of safety. You can explore this truth slowly, noticing where you might allow even a small portion of the weight to be shared. You may wonder what it actually means to not hold everything alone, especially if you have tried to lean on others before and been disappointed. God does not offer a simplistic answer. Shared weight does not always look like people fixing things for you or taking responsibilities away. Sometimes it looks like being seen without being solved, like being allowed to rest without explanation, like knowing you are not invisible even when nothing changes outwardly. God shares the weight by staying present, by holding what you cannot, by carrying what overwhelms you when you are tired. This sharing does not depend on your ability to articulate your needs perfectly. You do not have to know how to ask correctly. You only need to allow the possibility that you do not have to do this all by yourself anymore. There may be a part of you that fears if you stop holding everything, things will fall apart. This fear makes sense. When you have been the one holding for so long, letting go can feel like abandonment of duty. God does not ask you to abandon what matters to you. Love simply invites you to stop believing that everything depends on your constant effort. There is a difference between caring and carrying, between responsibility and overburdening. You can care deeply without holding everything alone. God does not remove meaning from your life by offering support. Support allows meaning to be sustained without destroying you. You were never meant to prove your worth through exhaustion. As you sit with this truth, you may notice a subtle softening, a sense that perhaps you do not have to brace quite so hard against life. This softening is not surrender to weakness. It is an opening to trust. Trust does not arrive all at once. It grows as you experience that you can set something down and the world does not collapse, that you can rest and still be held, that you can be seen without being judged. God remains with you as you experiment with this, as you slowly test the idea that shared weight is possible. You are not required to change everything at once. Awareness itself is a form of release. You were never meant to hold this alone does not mean you have failed by doing so. It means there is more kindness available to you than you have been receiving. God offers this kindness without condition, without demand, without timeline. You do not need to earn the right to be supported. You already have it. As this truth settles, you may begin to sense that what you are carrying is not being taken from you, but gently supported beneath you. God does not remove your life from your hands. Love simply steadies it so you do not have to carry it by yourself. And in this steadiness, there is room to breathe, room to rest, room to continue without being crushed by the weight. Letting God share the weight does not begin with dramatic surrender or perfectly spoken prayers. It begins much more quietly, often with a simple acknowledgement that what you are carrying has become heavy, heavier than you were meant to hold on your own. You may have spent a long time believing that asking God to carry something meant you had to stop caring, stop trying, or stop being responsible. Yet God does not take the weight from you by removing your care. Love shares the weight by holding it with you, steadying what feels unmanageable, supporting what feels fragile. You do not have to drop everything at once or know exactly what to release. Even the smallest opening, even a whispered admission of tiredness, is enough to begin. God does not require clarity from you, only honesty. You may not know what you are carrying until you start to feel it being supported. Sometimes you only realize how heavy something was after you are no longer holding it alone. Letting God share the weight can feel unfamiliar if you have learned to rely primarily on yourself. You may notice resistance arise, a subtle instinct to keep control, to manage, to stay vigilant. This resistance is not a failure of faith. It is a sign of how long you have been holding things together by yourself. God does not push past this resistance or shame it away. Love waits patiently, meeting you where you are, respecting the pace at which trust grows. You are not asked to hand over everything immediately. You are invited to notice where the weight presses most heavily and to allow God's presence to meet you there. This may look like pausing for a moment instead of pushing through, like allowing yourself to feel without fixing, like resting without needing to justify it. These small shifts are not insignificant. They are moments where the weight begins to be shared. You may wonder what it actually means practically to let God share the weight. It does not always look like circumstances changing or problems disappearing. Often it looks like you feeling less alone inside them. God shares the weight by staying present when things remain unresolved, by holding you steady when emotions rise, by offering peace that does not depend on answers. You may still be carrying responsibilities, still facing challenges, still making decisions, but something changes when you are not carrying the emotional burden alone. The pressure eases, the urgency softens, the fear loses some of its grip. You may notice that when you stop trying to manage everything internally, your body relaxes slightly, your breath deepens, your thoughts slow. This is not because the situation has changed, but because you are no longer isolated inside it. There may be parts of you that feel undeserving of this shared weight, parts that believe you should be able to handle things on your own, that needing support is a sign of failure. God gently challenges this belief not with argument, but with presence. Love does not measure worth by independence. You do not earn support by proving strength. You are supported because you exist, because you are human, because you were never meant to be self-sufficient in isolation. Letting God share the weight is not a reward for being faithful enough or strong enough. It is part of the care that has always been available to you, even when you did not know how to receive it. You may notice grief arise as you begin to experience this shared weight, grief for the times you carried alone, for the exhaustion you normalized, for the help you did not feel able to ask for. This grief is welcome. God does not ask you to move past it quickly. Mourning what was heavy honors the reality of what you endured. At the same time, this grief can coexist with relief that you do not have to continue in the same way. God holds both emotions with you, allowing them to exist without contradiction. Letting God share the weight does not erase the past, but it does change how the present feels. There may also be fear that if you let go too much, something will be forgotten, neglected, or lost. This fear makes sense when you have been the one ensuring everything keeps moving. God does not ask you to abandon what matters. Love simply invites you to trust that care does not disappear when control softens. You can still show up, still be responsible, still engage with your life without carrying the emotional burden alone. God supports what you cannot hold, especially the uncertainty, the outcomes, the parts beyond your influence. You do not need to carry the future in your hands. You can let God hold what you cannot predict or manage. As you practice letting God share the weight, you may notice moments where you instinctively take it back, where you return to old patterns of self-reliance. This is normal. Trust is built through repetition, not perfection. Each time you notice and gently release again, you are deepening the relationship, not failing it. God does not withdraw when you struggle to let go. Love remains consistent, steady, available. There is no punishment for holding on too tightly, only patience for when you are ready to loosen your grip again. Letting God share the weight also means allowing yourself to rest without feeling irresponsible. Rest becomes an act of trust rather than avoidance. You are not abandoning your life by resting, you are allowing it to be sustained by more than your effort alone. God does not need you to exhaust yourself to prove devotion. Love does not demand sacrifice that destroys you. You may begin to sense that rest itself becomes a form of shared carrying, a place where God holds things while you breathe, recover, and exist without pressure. You do not need to fully understand how this sharing works for it to be real. You do not need to feel constant peace or confidence. Even moments of quiet relief, moments where the heaviness lifts slightly, are signs that you are not alone in this anymore. God is not taking your life away from you. Love is simply walking with you, carrying what is too heavy, staying present where you feel overwhelmed. You can let this support be imperfect, intermittent, and gradual. There is no deadline for learning how to receive it. Letting God share the weight is not a one-time decision. It is a relationship that unfolds over time, deepening as you experience safety in not being alone. You are allowed to move slowly here. You are allowed to test, to hesitate, to return to self-reliance and then soften again. God remains with you through all of it, not keeping score, not withdrawing care. The weight you have been carrying is real, and you do not have to carry it alone anymore. Even now, as you sit with these words, something is being held with you. You do not have to name it. You do not have to explain it. You can simply rest in the knowledge that you are supported, seen, and not alone. There is a kind of rest you may not have allowed yourself yet. A rest that does not come after everything is finished, justified, or understood, but arrives simply because you are tired. Resting without explaining yourself can feel unfamiliar if you have learned that rest must be earned, defended, or made reasonable to others and even to yourself. You may have grown used to giving reasons for why you need to pause, why you cannot keep up, why you need space, as if rest required permission. God meets you gently here and offers something different. You do not need to explain yourself in order to rest. You do not need to make your tiredness logical, productive, or temporary. You are allowed to rest because you are human, because you have been carrying weight, because your nervous system needs care, because you exist. God does not ask for a report of everything you have done before allowing you to pause. Love does not demand justification before offering rest. You may notice how deeply the habit of explaining runs in you. Even in quiet moments, you may find your mind listing reasons why it is acceptable to slow down, preparing defenses against imagined judgments. This habit did not form randomly. It formed because at some point, rest did not feel safe without explanation. Perhaps you learned that slowing down invited criticism, disappointment, or misunderstanding. Perhaps you learned that being productive was how you stayed valued, how you avoided being questioned. God sees how these patterns formed and does not rush you to let them go. Love understands that resting without explanation can feel like exposure, like standing still without armor. Yet God also knows how healing it can be to rest without needing to justify your presence or your pace. Resting without explaining yourself does not mean you stop caring about your responsibilities or the people in your life. It means you stop carrying the additional burden of self-justification on top of everything else. You may still show up, still engage, still take steps forward, but you do so without constantly proving that you deserve to rest. God invites you to notice how much energy has been spent managing perceptions, managing expectations, managing the image of strength. When you rest without explaining yourself, that energy becomes available again, not for productivity, but for healing, for presence, for simply being alive without pressure. You may feel discomfort as you allow yourself this kind of rest. Guilt may arise, telling you that you should be doing more, that others are depending on you, that now is not the right time to pause. God does not dismiss these feelings or label them wrong. Love recognizes them as echoes of old survival strategies. Guilt often appears when you begin to care for yourself in new ways. It does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are changing a pattern. God stays with you as you sit with this discomfort, not asking you to push through it, but to breathe alongside it. You are not required to eliminate guilt before resting. You can rest even while guilt is present. Over time, the guilt softens when it realizes that rest does not destroy what matters. There is also a fear that if you stop explaining yourself, you will be misunderstood or judged. This fear is real, especially if your rest has been questioned before. God does not promise that everyone will always understand your need to pause. What love offers instead is the reassurance that being misunderstood does not mean you are wrong. You do not need universal approval to take care of yourself. Resting without explanation is an act of trust. Trust that your worth is not dependent on constant output. Trust that you do not need to be constantly legible to be allowed space. God knows who you are beyond what you produce, beyond what you hold together, beyond what you manage. You do not have to explain yourself to be known here. As you begin to practice resting without explanation, you may notice moments of relief that feel almost surprising. Moments where your body softens simply because it no longer has to brace for justification. Moments where your breath deepens because you are not preparing to defend your pause. These moments may be brief at first, but they are meaningful. They signal a shift from survival toward safety. God is present in these small releases, honoring them as real progress. You are not failing because rest feels awkward. You are learning something new. Rest without explanation also invites you to rest internally, not just physically. You may have learned to keep your mind busy even while your body pauses, rehearsing tasks, worrying about outcomes, monitoring what still needs to be done. God gently invites you to let your mind rest too, to stop narrating your worth through effort. This kind of rest takes practice. It may feel like your thoughts wander back to responsibility again and again. That is okay. Each time you notice and gently return to rest, you are building a new relationship with yourself. God does not require perfect stillness. Presence is enough. You may wonder how long you are allowed to rest this way, how long before you need to explain yourself again, before life demands movement. God does not set a timer on your rest. Love understands that rest is not something you take once and then never need again. It is something you return to repeatedly, in different forms, as life unfolds. You do not need to predict when you will move again to allow yourself to pause now. You are allowed to rest without planning the next step. God holds what comes next while you breathe here. Resting without explaining yourself also means releasing the need to fully understand why you are tired before resting. You may not have a clear reason, a single cause, a dramatic event that justifies your exhaustion. Tiredness can accumulate quietly over time, especially when you have been carrying weight for long periods. God does not require a diagnosis before offering care. You do not need to analyze your fatigue to deserve rest. You are allowed to listen to your body without interrogating it. Love honors what you feel even when you cannot explain it. As you sit with this kind of rest, you may notice emotions surfacing that you have kept at bay through busyness. Sadness, grief, frustration, or even numbness may appear. This does not mean rest is making things worse. It means rest is creating space for what has been waiting to be felt. God does not rush you through these emotions or ask you to resolve them. You are not required to process everything at once. Rest does not demand insight. It offers companionship. God stays with you as feelings rise and fall, steady and present. You may also experience moments of emptiness when you stop explaining yourself, moments where you are not sure who you are without constant effort. This can feel unsettling. God meets you here too, reminding you that your identity is not defined by productivity or endurance. You are someone worthy of care even when you are not holding everything together. Rest reveals this truth slowly, gently, without forcing it. You are allowed to exist without explanation. Resting without explaining yourself does not mean you withdraw from life permanently. It means you stop carrying the additional weight of self-judgment while you live it. You may return to activity with more clarity, more softness, more honesty about your limits. Or you may simply remain here a little longer, breathing, allowing, being. God does not hurry you out of rest. Love understands that rest is not the opposite of faith or responsibility. It is part of how you are sustained. Even now, as you read or listen, you are allowed to let these words settle without needing to decide what they mean for your life. You do not have to commit to resting perfectly or permanently. You can simply allow this moment to be one where you are not explaining yourself. You are not defending your tiredness. You are not preparing to justify your pause. You are just here. God is here with you. That is enough. There comes a moment, often so subtle you might almost miss it, when the weight you have been carrying does not disappear but begins to soften. It does not drop suddenly from your shoulders, and nothing dramatic announces the change. Instead, you may notice that the tightness you have lived with for so long loosens just enough for you to breathe more fully, just enough for your body to realize it is not bracing as hard as before. God is present in this quiet softening. It is not the result of you doing something perfectly or finally getting everything right. It happens because you have begun to allow support, to rest without explanation, to stop holding yourself together quite so tightly. When the load begins to soften, it can feel unfamiliar, even unsettling, because carrying has been your normal for so long. You may wonder whether the relief is temporary, whether it is safe to trust it, whether something bad will happen if you stop holding so firmly. God understands this hesitation. Love does not rush you into relaxation or demand that you fully trust the lightness right away. You are allowed to notice it slowly, to test it gently, to let it come and go without panic. This softening does not mean your responsibilities vanish or your life suddenly becomes easy. What changes first is often internal. The constant pressure to manage everything alone eases. The sense that everything depends on you begins to loosen. You may still carry many things, but you are no longer carrying them in isolation. God is sharing the weight in ways that are felt more than seen. You may notice moments when your thoughts are less frantic, when your body does not react as quickly to stress, when you pause before pushing yourself further. These moments matter. They are signs that something inside you is learning it does not have to remain on high alert all the time. God is not asking you to drop everything you carry. Love is teaching you how to carry differently. When the load begins to soften, emotions you have been holding tightly may begin to surface. You might feel waves of sadness, relief, or even anger, emotions that were difficult to access when you were focused on survival. This does not mean you are regressing. It means you are finally safe enough to feel what was postponed. God does not fear these emotions. Love holds them with you, allowing them to move through without overwhelming you. You are not required to analyze or resolve them. Simply allowing them to exist is part of the softening. You may also feel moments of emptiness, where you are not sure what to do with yourself when you are not constantly managing. This too is part of the transition. When carrying has been normal, lightness can feel disorienting. God meets you in this disorientation, reminding you that you do not need to immediately fill the space. You are allowed to let it be open. You may notice that as the load softens, your body responds before your mind fully understands what is happening. Your shoulders drop slightly, your jaw unclenches, your breathing deepens without effort. These are not small changes. They are signals that your system is beginning to trust that it does not have to hold everything alone. God sees this trust forming even when you do not consciously name it. It grows through experience, through moments where you realize you can set something down and nothing collapses, through pauses where you rest and still feel held. This trust is fragile at first. You may feel it one moment and lose it the next. God does not withdraw when trust wavers. Love remains consistent, steady, and patient. When the load begins to soften, you may also notice a shift in how you relate to yourself. The inner voice that once demanded constant strength may grow quieter. Self-criticism may lose some of its urgency. You may find yourself more compassionate toward your own limits, more willing to acknowledge when something is too much. This compassion is not weakness. It is wisdom born from finally being supported. God does not ask you to become someone new. Love allows you to become more fully who you already are without the weight distorting everything. There can be fear alongside this softening. Fear that if you allow yourself to feel lighter, you will lose your edge, your motivation, your sense of responsibility. God gently reassures you that caring does not disappear when pressure eases. In fact, care often becomes more sustainable when it is not driven by fear. You are not becoming careless by letting the load soften. You are becoming human again. You may still take responsibility seriously, still show up for what matters, but you do so with more presence and less strain. God does not need you to exhaust yourself to prove devotion or worth. As the load softens, you may notice that rest becomes more accessible. Rest no longer feels like something stolen from your responsibilities, but something that supports you in carrying them. You may find that you can rest without immediately feeling guilty, or that the guilt passes more quickly when it arises. These shifts are gradual. God does not expect you to suddenly rest perfectly or fully. Each small moment of rest is enough. Each moment where you choose not to push past your limits is a quiet act of trust. You may also become more aware of what you are carrying unnecessarily, expectations that no longer serve you, responsibilities that could be shared, beliefs that keep you overburdened. God does not demand that you sort all of this out at once. Awareness itself is part of the softening. You are allowed to notice without immediately changing. Love moves at the pace of safety, not efficiency. You do not need to optimize your life to be worthy of care. When the load begins to soften, it can feel like grief and relief are intertwined. Grief for how heavy things have been. Relief that they do not have to remain that way. God holds both with you. You do not need to choose between honoring your pain and accepting support. Both can exist together. The softening does not erase what you have carried. It acknowledges it and offers something gentler in its place. Even now, as you sit with this idea, you may feel a slight easing, or you may simply feel curious. Both are welcome. There is no correct response. God is not measuring your progress or your ability to let go. Love is simply present, sharing the weight, allowing the load to soften at a pace that feels safe for you. You do not have to force the lightness. You do not have to chase relief. You can let it arrive in its own way, trusting that even when you do not feel it, you are still supported. The load beginning to soften is not the end of your journey. It is a sign that something inside you is learning it does not have to remain hardened forever. God walks with you through this learning, steady and patient, honoring the strength that carried you here and the gentleness that will carry you forward. You are not losing anything by letting the load soften. You are gaining space to breathe, to feel, to exist without constant strain. And that space is held with care. There is a quiet relearning that happens when the weight you have carried for so long begins to ease, a relearning of breath, of presence, of what it feels like to exist without constant pressure pressing inward. You may not notice it all at once. It can begin with a single deeper inhale, a moment where your chest rises without effort, a pause where you realize you are not holding your breath the way you once did. God is present in this relearning, patient and attentive, allowing your body and spirit to rediscover safety at their own pace. Learning to breathe again under less weight does not mean everything has resolved. It means your system is beginning to sense that it does not need to stay on alert every moment. You may notice how unfamiliar this feels, how your body almost waits for the weight to return, how your mind scans for what you might be forgetting. God understands this vigilance. It formed to protect you. Love does not rush you out of it. Instead, God invites you to notice the moments when breathing feels easier, even if they are brief, and to let them be what they are without suspicion. Breathing under less weight can feel vulnerable. When you have been braced for a long time, Relaxation can feel like exposure, like something you have to earn or guard. You may wonder whether it is safe to breathe fully, whether letting your guard down will invite new pain. God does not dismiss these fears. Love knows that safety is learned through experience, not instruction. Each moment you breathe without something bad happening teaches your system that lightness is possible. You are not required to convince yourself of this truth intellectually. Your body learns it slowly, through repetition, through small experiences of ease that do not turn into catastrophe. God remains with you as this learning unfolds, not pushing, not demanding trust, simply staying present. As you begin to breathe more freely, you may notice sensations that were dulled by constant strain. Emotions may feel closer to the surface. Sensitivity may increase. You may feel joy more sharply, but also sadness, tenderness, or longing. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are becoming more alive under less weight. God does not protect you from feeling. Love supports you as you feel, holding you steady so the experience does not overwhelm you. You are not required to manage these sensations or make sense of them. You can let them move through you like breath itself, arriving and leaving without force. Learning to breathe again also means noticing how much of your life was lived in shallow inhales, in constant readiness, in subtle tension you did not even realize was there. You may grieve this realization, mourning the years you spent braced, the ease you did not allow yourself, the softness you postponed. This grief is welcome. God does not ask you to be grateful for the weight you carried or to reframe it as necessary. You are allowed to acknowledge that it was heavy, that it cost you something, that you are only now learning what it feels like to exhale. Grief and relief can exist together. God holds both without asking you to choose. As breathing becomes easier, you may notice changes in how you move through your days. You may pause more naturally. You may respond instead of react. You may find that your thoughts do not race quite as quickly, that your body does not tense as immediately when something unexpected happens. These changes may be subtle, but they matter. They are signs that your nervous system is beginning to trust that it does not have to work so hard to keep you safe. God is present in these shifts, honoring them as real progress even when they do not feel dramatic. You may also encounter moments where the old tightness returns, where something triggers familiar tension and your breath becomes shallow again. This does not erase the progress you have made. It is part of the learning. Breathing under less weight is not a straight path. It is a practice that deepens over time. God does not withdraw when old patterns resurface. Love remains steady, offering the same presence each time you notice and return to breath. You are not starting over when you tense again. You are simply practicing. Breathing more freely can also change how you relate to rest. Rest may begin to feel less like collapse and more like nourishment. You may find that you can rest without immediately falling into exhaustion, that rest becomes a place of quiet presence rather than escape. This shift does not happen all at once. God allows it to unfold gradually, respecting the pace at which your body learns safety. You are not required to optimize your rest or do it correctly. Even moments of conscious breathing, moments where you allow yourself to pause without judgment, are enough. Learning to breathe again under less weight may bring a sense of spaciousness you are not sure what to do with. When weight lifts even slightly, there can be a feeling of emptiness, as if something that once filled your inner world is no longer there. This emptiness is not a void that must be filled immediately. It is space. God invites you to let this space exist without rushing to occupy it. You do not need to replace the weight with productivity, distraction, or new obligations. You can let the space breathe with you, trusting that what belongs there will emerge naturally over time. You may notice that as you breathe more freely, your sense of self begins to shift. You may feel less defined by what you carry and more connected to who you are beneath the weight. This can feel both relieving and disorienting. God meets you in this transition, reminding you that you do not need to rush to define yourself again. You are allowed to exist without a clear label, without a role anchored in endurance. Breathing is enough for now. Presence is enough. There is a gentleness in learning to breathe again that does not demand achievement or insight. It is not something you accomplish. It is something you allow. God does not stand at the end of this process waiting for you to arrive. Love walks with you through each breath, each moment of ease, each return from tension. You are not being evaluated on how well you breathe or how quickly you relax. You are being accompanied. Even now, as you read or listen, you may notice your breath. You do not need to change it. Simply noticing is enough. God is with you in this noticing, honoring the courage it takes to soften after holding so much for so long. Learning to breathe again under less weight is not about forgetting what you carried. It is about allowing yourself to live with less strain moving forward. The weight may not be gone, but it is no longer crushing. You are not alone beneath it. You are breathing, and that is a beginning. There is a fear that can quietly linger beneath the relief of letting go. A fear that if you set something down, even for a moment, you will no longer be held. You may worry that support is conditional, that care exists only as long as you keep trying, keep holding, keep proving your effort. God meets you gently in this fear and offers a truth that your heart may need time to absorb. You are still held even when you set things down. Holding is not what keeps you safe. Effort is not what sustains love. You do not disappear when you pause. You do not become less worthy when you release your grip. God's presence does not thin out when you rest. It remains steady, attentive, and close, especially when you stop bracing. You may have learned, through experience, that letting go leads to loss. Perhaps when you relaxed before, something fell apart or someone withdrew, or you were left to deal with the consequences alone. God does not dismiss these memories. Love understands how easily they teach your body to stay vigilant, to keep holding even when you are exhausted. Yet those experiences do not define what is possible now. Being held does not depend on you maintaining control. God's care is not fragile. It does not require constant reinforcement. You are held because you exist, not because you are managing everything well. Setting things down can feel uncomfortable at first. You may not even know how to do it consciously. You may simply notice moments where you stop rehearsing a worry, stop anticipating an outcome, stop carrying a responsibility internally even while it still exists externally. In those moments, you may feel exposed, as if something essential has been removed. God meets you there, steady and present, showing you through experience that nothing essential has been lost. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still supported. This is how trust grows, not through certainty, but through lived moments where letting go does not lead to collapse. You may wonder what it means to be held if you are not actively holding. Being held does not mean your life becomes passive or that you stop participating in it. It means that beneath your actions, beneath your responsibilities, there is a deeper support that does not depend on your vigilance. God holds what you cannot carry, the outcomes, the uncertainties, the weight of what is beyond your influence. You are not required to carry the future in your body. You can set it down and remain held. There may be parts of you that resist this idea, parts that believe if you do not keep everything in mind, something important will be forgotten. God understands this resistance. Love does not force you to forget what matters. Being held does not erase your care. It allows your care to exist without crushing you. You can remember without obsessing. You can care without carrying everything internally. God holds the difference. You may notice that when you set things down, even briefly, a sense of emptiness arises. This emptiness can feel unsettling, especially if your inner world has been full of responsibilities, worries, and plans for a long time. God does not rush to fill this emptiness. Love allows it to be space where your breath can deepen, space where your body can rest, space where something gentler can emerge. You do not need to immediately occupy this space with new tasks or concerns. You are allowed to let it be open. Being held even when you set things down also means you are allowed to stop monitoring yourself. You may have learned to watch your own behavior closely, to evaluate whether you are doing enough, caring enough, trying hard enough. God invites you to rest from this self-surveillance. You do not need to track your worth through effort. You are not on probation with love. Being held is not something you can lose by relaxing. You may experience moments where you set something down and then feel anxiety rush in, as if your body does not trust the release yet. This does not mean you are not held. It means your system is still learning what safety feels like without constant effort. God stays with you through these moments too, not withdrawing because anxiety appears. You are not required to feel peaceful to be held. You are held even in fear, even in doubt, even in uncertainty. As you practice setting things down, you may notice a gradual shift in how you relate to your inner world. Thoughts that once felt urgent may lose some of their intensity. Worries may arise but pass more easily. You may find yourself less reactive, more present, more able to choose where your attention goes. These changes are not the result of discipline or control. They come from the experience of being supported beneath your effort. God does not force this change. Love allows it to unfold naturally. You may also notice grief surface as you realize how rarely you felt held in the past, how often you believed it was all up to you. This grief is valid. It honors the reality of what you endured. God does not ask you to bypass it or turn it into gratitude. You can grieve the years you carried alone while also receiving support now. These experiences do not cancel each other out. They exist together, held by the same presence. Being held when you set things down does not mean you will never pick them up again. Life will still ask things of you. Responsibilities will still exist. Decisions will still need to be made. The difference is that you will no longer be carrying everything by yourself internally. You will know, even when things feel heavy again, that you are not alone beneath the weight. This knowing may be quiet, but it is steady. It does not shout. It simply remains. You may find that setting things down allows you to reconnect with parts of yourself that were overshadowed by constant carrying. Curiosity may return. Gentleness may feel more accessible. You may notice small moments of enjoyment or ease that were previously drowned out by pressure. God is present in these moments too, not as a reward for letting go, but as a companion who has always been there, now more easily felt. You are still held even when you set things down, because being held is not something you achieve. It is something you receive. You do not have to believe this perfectly for it to be true. You can doubt and still be held. You can struggle and still be held. You can rest and still be held. God's presence does not thin out when you loosen your grip. It becomes more noticeable. Even now, as you consider the idea of setting something down, you do not need to decide what that is. You do not need to act on it immediately. Awareness is enough. God is not asking for a performance. Love is offering reassurance. You are not suspended over emptiness when you release your grip. You are supported by something steady and patient. You can let yourself be held, even if only for this moment. Nothing will be lost because you rest here. You are still here. You are still seen. You are still held. Now you are invited into a place where nothing more is required of you. A place where effort can soften and vigilance can rest. Tonight, you do not have to carry what has been heavy. Not because it no longer matters, not because it has been solved, but because you are allowed to pause without losing anything essential. God meets you here with a quiet assurance, not asking you to release everything forever, only inviting you to set things down for now. You have been holding for so long, often without realizing how constant the strain has been. Tonight, you are not being asked to be strong, to be responsible, or to be composed. You are being invited to rest in the truth that you are already held. You may notice how unfamiliar it feels to hear that you do not have to carry tonight. Your mind may immediately begin listing reasons why you should keep holding, why it is not safe to stop, why something might go wrong if you relax. God does not argue with these thoughts or try to silence them forcefully. Love simply stays with you as they pass, reminding you that rest does not mean abandonment. You are not leaving your life behind by pausing. You are allowing yourself to be sustained by something other than your own effort for a moment. Nothing is being neglected by your rest. What matters will still be there when you return. God is watching over what you set down. Tonight is not about fixing what is broken or resolving what is unclear. It is not about understanding your burdens or finding the right words to describe them. You do not need to explain yourself, justify your tiredness, or prepare for what comes next. You are allowed to let the questions remain unanswered, the tasks unfinished, the responsibilities unexamined. God does not need you to stay alert for love to remain present. You can let your guard soften without fear. You are safe to rest. As you allow yourself to settle, you may feel the weight you have been carrying still present in some form. God is not asking you to pretend it is gone. You can acknowledge it gently and still set it down. Setting something down does not erase it. It simply means you are no longer holding it alone. God holds what you release, even if you do not know exactly what that is. You do not need to name each burden or consciously hand it over. Intention is enough. Even the quiet desire to rest is enough. You may feel a sense of relief mixed with sadness as you allow yourself this pause. Relief that you do not have to keep pushing, sadness for how long you felt you did. Both are welcome here. God does not ask you to choose one emotion over another. You are allowed to feel whatever arises without managing it. Tonight is not about emotional control. It is about being accompanied. God sits with you in the relief and in the grief, steady and present, not trying to change what you feel. You may notice your body responding before your thoughts catch up. Your shoulders may lower slightly. Your breath may deepen. Your jaw may unclench. These small shifts are not accidents. They are signs that your body is recognizing safety, perhaps for the first time in a while. You do not need to force relaxation or try to relax correctly. You can simply notice what happens when you stop bracing. God is with you in these subtle movements, honoring them as real rest. Tonight, you are allowed to stop monitoring yourself. You do not need to check whether you are resting well enough, trusting enough, letting go enough. There is no right way to rest here. You are not being evaluated. You are not being graded on your ability to release control. God's care does not depend on how well you rest. You can rest imperfectly. You can drift in and out of awareness. You can fall asleep or stay awake. All of it is held. You may feel moments where anxiety surfaces as you slow down, moments where your mind tries to pull you back into vigilance. This does not mean rest is failing. It means your system is adjusting to a new way of being. God does not withdraw when anxiety appears. Love stays, offering the same reassurance again and again. You do not need to push the anxiety away. You can let it exist alongside rest, trusting that it does not have the final word. Tonight is not a commitment to never carry again. Life will ask things of you tomorrow, and you will respond in your own way. For now, you are allowed to be off duty. You are allowed to let tomorrow wait. You do not need to plan your next step, prepare your next response, or rehearse your next responsibility. God holds what comes next. You are not required to be ready for it tonight. As these words gently come to a close, there is nothing you need to remember or take with you. You do not need to hold onto this reassurance tightly. It will remain whether you consciously recall it or not. You are not alone when the lights dim, when the noise quiets, when your thoughts slow. God remains near, attentive and calm, watching over what you cannot hold, guarding what feels fragile, carrying what has been heavy. You are allowed to let your mind rest. You are allowed to let your body sink into stillness. You are allowed to drift without effort. Nothing is being lost in this pause. Nothing essential depends on your wakefulness. You are safe to rest because you are not the only one holding your life together. Tonight, you do not have to carry. You are seen. You are supported. You are held. And you can let yourself rest inside that truth, gently, without urgency, without fear, knowing that you are not alone, and you never have been.